Imagine dropping $1,000 on a brand new phone, just trying to install an open source app completely safe that you have used for years, and instead of the app just downloading, well, your screen just locks up and you're literally forced by Google to go through a whole completely unhinged interrogation sequence that literally includes a mandatory 24-hour waiting period just to finish the installation. I am not even making that up. This is not like a joke or some hypothetical dystopian future. This is exactly what Google has officially rolled out, setting a hard deadline of September of this year to turn Android into pretty much a completely locked down walled garden. For the longest time, well, the one massive advantage Android had always had over Apple was freedom. The simple fact that if you didn't like the official Play Store, you could just grab an APK file off the internet and just install. But now Google has launched a full-scale assault on sideloading under the disguise of supposedly protecting users, demanding that independent developers hand over their real-world government ID, pay registration fees, and just sign away their souls to Google's terms and service. And if they refuse to just play ball, well, Google just throws that developer's app into a terrifying penalty box, just slapping the user with insane warning screens and that ridiculous 24-hour timeout I mentioned earlier. But here is where the story gets incredibly good, because instead of just rolling over the entire open source tech world, just basically look at this new mandate and collectively said hell nah, sparking what is probably the most massive organized resistance movement in the history of smartphone software. Really interesting story. So to really understand why this coalition is crashing out over this new system, well, you have to look underneath the hood at how absolutely arrogant Google's demands simply are. So Google literally calls this whole thing the advanced flow, and if a developer refuses to upload their physical government ID to a centralized good old corporate database, well, their users are forced to run a digital obstacle course just to install a damn app. So here's how the actual obstacle course goes down, and I really just need you to stay with me, because honestly every single step is somehow just more ridiculous than the last. First, you have to go through digging deep into your settings and tap the build number on your phone 7 times, just unlocking some secret cheat code just to enable developer mode. So cool, you're now in. You might think you can just install the app, but no, because now your phone slams the brakes and just throws up some scary dramatic screen that literally asks you to confirm that there is not somebody standing over your shoulder right now forcing you to do this. That's just so ridiculous. And then it makes you punch in your device pin to prove it was really you, and then I'm not even kidding, it forces your entire phone to fully restart. And none of that is even the crazy part. The crazy part is the second your phone boots back up, a 24-hour countdown just starts ticking, and for that entire day the install button is just dead. You physically cannot press it. You have to walk away, just go live your life, come back a full day later, just pass one last biometric scan, and only then you finally are allowed to tap install. And that is just the one-time setup to flip the whole thing on for that device. Google swears this kills scammers, which honestly sounds reasonable for around 2 seconds, right until you realize that they are treating every normal power user like a confused victim being scammed in real time. Honestly, you somehow cannot be trusted to install software on a phone you literally paid for it. That is just ridiculous to say. This brings us to the absolute boiling point of the entire drama, where the companies protecting our privacy decided to actually fight back instead of letting Daddy Google turn Android into a cheap, restrictive clone of iOS. So the craziest part about this entire conflict is how it specifically targets platforms like F-Droid, for example, which is arguably the most respected repository of free and open source software on the entire internet. I use it myself. F-Droid's structural model physically cannot comply with Google's new rules, even if they wanted to, because they pretty much compiled their apps directly from public source code in a transparent way, meaning they're just isn't one single individual developer sitting in a room with a government ID who can just sign Google's ridiculous terms. Like, there are literally thousands of incredibly talented like developers who build these privacy tools for free in their spare time, and a massive chunk of them, well, they use, like, for example, like fake names to protect their identities from like oppressive like governments. Like Google trying to force a decentralized community to register like a singular real world identity, that's just broken. Like, it just breaks how open source works. Like, when this coalition of privacy giants led by incredibly vocal organizations like the EFF, Absolute Kings, where they started absolutely roasting like Google over this, and Google actually panicked and tried to offer like weak partial concessions. Like, they offered limited distribution accounts for like hobbyists to share apps with up to 20 devices. But the resistance like movement just saw right through the whole PR spin and publicly called them out, bluntly stating that these tiny cosmetic changes do absolutely like nothing to solve the massive gatekeeping problem at the core of the update. So the coalition isn't just fighting for slightly better terms, like they are fighting for the fundamental human right to own your hardware and install whatever software you want without needing like a damn permission slip from $1 trillion tech monopoly. Like, we're talking about like absolute heavyweight champions of the open web like Proton, Tor, Nextcloud, and dozens of others completely drawing a line in the sand and refusing to legitimize this pretty much digital mafia protection racket. Like, that's some advanced words right there. Like, they're going to war because they realize that if Google successfully implements this mob style like shakedown on September 2026 in testing regions like, for example, I believe it's Singapore, Indonesia, and Brazil and more, it's only a matter of time before it rolls out globally in 2027 and permanently destroys the free internet on mobile devices. Like, watching these fiercely independent privacy companies and also like passionate open source developers band together to publicly shame Google for acting like a digital dictator is honestly pretty entertaining and satisfying to watch in the tech world right now. It completely exposes the absolute hypocrisy of a company that literally built its entire empire by bragging about Android being the open alternative to Apple. These developers are putting their livelihoods on the line just because they understand that once you hand over pretty much the keys to the ecosystem, well, you are never getting them back. Like, it proves that the old school internet spirit of freedom isn't just dead yet, but a dedicated group of people can still look at a monopoly right in the face and just refuse to back down. At the end of the day, what we are watching unfold is not just some sort of like boring developer drama. Like, it is quite literally the final boss battle for the soul of Android and the future of the open internet itself. Like, Google is basically trying to speedrun the destruction of their own platform's biggest selling point, and the fact that they are getting so heavily dragged for it by like the exact same independent developers who helped make Android like popular in the first place is just incredible karma. The real world consequences of this update are terrifying when you realize that the software critical to the running of independent businesses will soon be at the mercy of the opaque whims of an unaccountable like corporation. But honestly, the sheer scale and intensity of the backlash from this like newly formed resistance, well, it's pretty good to see. Like, all the goats are banding together. Like, it's really awesome to see, and who knows what will happen in September. So yeah, that's the first video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I really hope this does not go through, because I think like 70% of the apps on my phone are sideloaded. But yeah.